Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep. It's a nice Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Nice and cool.
Definitely. Nice and cloudy if you're up here in the city. So probably a good morning to watch and relax from bed. Nice cup of coffee or tea.
Yeah, but then you have to get up and you have to get out. You have to get to business. That's what typically happens. All right, we got our weather forecaster on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene and Gavin.
How are you today?
I am good. And how about you guys?
Sounds like the weather has you in a pleasant mood, like it's done for us.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Francisca, let's get into our forecast. What is our general situation for today?
Okay, the atmosphere is still relatively moist and unstable, so we'll be seeing cloudy spells today, and for today we'll be seeing some showers and isolated thunderstorms, but these will decrease tonight.
Okay. And our winds?
Out of the north and northeast, 5 to 50 knots, and producing moderate seas.
Okay, let's talk about our temperatures. What are our highs for today?
Okay, it will be on the low side, 80 along the coast, 78 inland, 70 up in the Maya Mountains. And then overnight temperatures, 72 along the coast, 64 inland, 60 in the Maya Mountains.
So it's pretty cool overall.
That's right.
Okay. And what about our outlook for the next couple of days?
For Wednesday and Wednesday night. So as I said, it will be decreasing tonight. So tomorrow we'll be seeing a few showers. Again, isolated thunderstorms, and then we'll see a further decrease on Wednesday night. So I can say it's improving.
And for today's showers, are those going to be seen over any particular areas of the country?
I am seeing most of the showers affecting inland areas, especially this afternoon.
Okay. All right. Well, Francisca, thank you so much for that update.
You're welcome.
And we hope you have a great day.
Thanks, and same to you all.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, so we got a very comfortable day today.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, keeping things moving this morning, we're going to get into our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Our minds are powerful, and moving into fear is a common experience that we can each look at and change. Everyone has fears. It is a natural part of being human. Fear can protect us from harm by sending a rush of adrenaline to help us physically deal with potential danger. But there are times when fear may keep us from participating fully in life. Once we realize that fear is a state of mind, we can choose to face our fears, change our minds, and create the life we want to live. Our minds are powerful tools to be used by our higher selves, like computers storing and using data to make certain connections between thought and response. We have the ability to observe these and choose differently. No matter where the fear came from, we can create new connections by choosing new thoughts. You may think that you are the only one with a particular fear, that nobody else could possibly be scared of ordinary things such as water, heights, public speaking, or flying. These types of fears are very common, and you can have great success overcoming them. Remember, it is not the absence of the fear, but the courage to take action anyway that determines success. When we learn to face our fears, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings, but not be ruled by them. Instead, we choose how to shape the lives we want.
Now, that's a really interesting eye-opener. And it's one that I think a lot of us are going to be able to relate to because it's such a natural part of life, just experiencing fear, whether it's over something really big or small. And I think that one of the things that was going through my mind as you were reading is that fear, for the most part, especially if it's in a new situation or if it's about starting something new, it generally means that you care very much because there may be something that you perceive might be at risk. Whether it's, embarrassing yourself or losing something or something bad happening in general, it's because, you want to ensure that there's some good result or some result, and the fear that comes about is because there's a thought or a doubt that runs through your mind that, okay, maybe this won't happen. And that's a very natural thing. But as the eye-opener says, at a certain point you do have a choice. And whether it's through, talking to yourself and trying to convince yourself, saying, okay, no, well, let's calm down, maybe this isn't so bad, maybe it comes from talking to somebody else, or maybe it just comes from analyzing the situation and saying, well, you know what, even though I'm scared, I have to do this, so we're just going to push through. And a lot of the times when you're in the situation, what you find is that you can sometimes just be running on adrenaline, and things happen, and then it's over, and then you look back, and then it's like, well, what was I so scared of in the first place? Or I shouldn't have been so scared to do that because I got through it, or it went really well. And then you realize that the fear, a lot of it is just created in your head. All of these ways of imagining things that could go wrong, especially if you're somebody who suffers with anxiety.
Yeah.
That's a very, very common thing, whenever and it doesn't even have to be something new. It might be even, in severe cases, it might be just starting something that you do every day, just what could happen at work or with somebody important that you have a relationship with, whether it's professional or personal. Yeah. But, as the eye-opener says, it's about making that choice or realizing what the fear is and where it comes from, and then, of course, pushing through. And sometimes even using it as, sort of like a fuel to sort of push yourself to say that, well, I'm going to make sure that this bad thing doesn't happen, so you're going to go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I can't help it. I was thinking of this video that I once saw. It was of Will Smith, the actor, and he was in an interview, and he was recounting a skydiving experience.
Yeah.
And one of the most profound things he said in explaining all the fear and anxiety he had in going up and finally jumping out of the plane was he summarized it all by saying he realized that he spent all this time worrying, all the time before, the night before, the day before. And one of the most important lessons he learned is that some of the best rewards lie on the other side of confronting your biggest fears. And it's always been something that stuck with me because I think we've all found out. There's that moment when you make a decision. You change the thought, like the eye-opener says, and you go for something even though it scares you to your core. It could be confronting a fear like public speaking.
Yeah.
It could be doing something that feels so incredibly uncomfortable and out of your comfort zone. But there's an adrenaline that comes when you've completed it. And yes, all the fears were real. All of the concerns you had were real. If it's skydiving, it's safety, it's all the other things. If it's public speaking, it's that you might fail. All of those things are real. But when you realize if you put in the work and if you've done all that you have to do, there's so many, there's almost a renewed person that's on the other side. And I think that's one of the perspectives that we can have when we have things that really are difficult for us to confront when it comes to fears. Some of them are meant to protect us, granted, but especially when you want to make changes, when you feel like that fear is crippling you or stifling you, or you're stagnant because you don't want to change things. I think that's the time when it really is important that you do all your preparatory work and you go ahead and face it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And another thing that I was thinking about was two sayings, I guess, that I don't know, I'm not sure if these individuals actually coined these phrases, but I'm going to quote them.
You know that saying, right? Like, don't expect that a photo with a quote is legitimate, right?
Well,
especially if it's on the internet.
Well, these are only because these are from people that I know. Okay. So I don't know if they made them up or if they got them somewhere. But the first one I was thinking about is from my dad, because a lot of the times when I'm talking about something, or somebody else in the family will, you know, maybe we're doing something, we're going somewhere, and then and somebody expresses some sort of like fear about something. My dad always says, well, don't plan problems, in the sense that, like, don't try to, or don't foreshadow or put things like that out there. Don't worry unnecessarily. And the other one is by another one of my friends who, in the same vein, always says, why worry about things twice? In a sense.
That's a true one.
Right?
Yeah.
So, just to say that if you're going into a situation and something bad has not happened or is not likely to happen, don't imagine that it will, so that, you work yourself up, you worry about it, and the fear actually can be stifling in several ways. But another thing actually that I was thinking about as you were speaking just now is just, when it comes to people confronting fears, I think about a lot of our guests on our show. Being on camera isn't a normal experience for most people. So a lot of the times when people come in, like, maybe in the 2 or 3 minutes before we go on air, they may tell us, oh, I'm nervous because of this and blah, blah, blah. And of course, we say that, well, it's something that you're talking about, it's your topic, so, you should be comfortable. But I also think that on a bigger level, that when we're in a situation like that, you also have to think that, there's a reason why you got here. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of different things that you did, and you're now in this moment because, either you've achieved something, or, you're qualified to talk about something else, and so you're here because of a whole lot of good things. So don't let the doubts and the fears cloud the experience or stifle you in any way.
And I think that's just the key message. I think the eye-opener really honed in on was looking at the fact that you have to control the thought pattern. Because if you just go with giving into the fear that you always have, you'll be exactly where you always are. Yeah. So sometimes it means that you just have to be that disruptive in what you're thinking and say, okay, well, what if I do it differently? What if I approach it differently? What if I prepare differently? Or what if I just change my perspective about the outcome? Yep. And it can make a big difference. So we all have fears, and we all chicken out from facing them sometimes. But, I think that the key message is that we keep on trying.
For sure.
All right. So, we got to get moving into the show for today.
Yeah, and we have a lot of interesting conversations lined up for you. Our first conversation, we are going to be bringing you of our COVID-19 update, and we are going to be speaking about, we're going to be speaking with some doctors about the risks to their profession in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, of course, if you have been following the news recently, you will have noted that in the past few weeks under the pandemic, several doctors have actually passed away due to COVID-related complications. So we're going to be getting perspectives from medical professionals on the state of safety and other issues that are going on in the medical community dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic.
All right. And the second part of the show, the Labor Department has a new process for temporary employment permits. And so they're going to be talking to us about what they've designed, how you can access it, and what your expectations should be.
Yep. And our final conversation, we are going to be speaking about the United World Colleges Belize's Scholarships, which is a scholarship program, and we're going to be actually hearing from some students who have been successful candidates for scholarships under this program. So we're going to learn all about that. So that's going to be another great conversation, and we're going to close off our show with it.
All right. And so before we go to our break, though, we do have our birthday shout out.
Yes, we do. So from all of us at Open Your Eyes on Channel 5, we want to wish a very happy birthday to Anasha Nicholas. So Anasha, we hope you have a great day. Happy, happy, happy birthday. And of course, we wish you many more.
With that, we'll take the break. When we come back, it'll be for COVID-19 update for today.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Actualmente, el virus de COVID-19 en el país sigue siendo una amenaza. Debido a que el virus nos necesita para propagarse de una persona a otra, podemos evitar que infecte a otros si practicamos el distanciamiento físico. Eso significa, manténgase al menos a 6 pies de distancia de otras personas. Evite el contacto físico. No se salude con besos, abrazos ni de mano. No se reúna en grupos grandes. Quédese en casa cuando los oficiales de la salud así lo indiquen. Utilice los medios sociales o el teléfono para comunicarse con los amigos. Evite los espacios cerrados y las áreas con mucha gente. Trabaje desde casa si puede. No visite a nadie que esté enfermo, en cuarentena o en aislamiento. Mejor, llámelos por teléfono. Protejamos nuestra salud.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
We're back, and this is our COVID-19 update for today, brought to you by Fulltech Systems Limited. We are talking about COVID-19, and there are quite a number of issues to be able to discuss. And we're joined at this time by internist at Belize Medical Associates, Dr. Fernando Cuellar, to address the latest, the statistics, the risks, and what we know. We have him on the line with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
All right.
Morning, Belize.
Now, Dr. Cuellar, we are, of course, talking this morning about a lot of issues that are related to COVID, but primarily about those that are affecting the frontline workers in the medical community, and of course, in particular, doctors. Now, we have, of course, heard the tragic news about both Drs. Guerra and the more recent passing of Dr. Baldomino Barbosa due to COVID-19 related complications. And perhaps we can start our conversation by you giving your reaction to those events and putting some of the COVID-related issues in, or the issues that we'll be talking about in context.
Yes, thanks, Gavin. And indeed, it's been a very tough, perhaps past month or so, because we've been hit directly in the medical community. We've lost both Dr. Guerras young physician, really promising future ahead of them. And they have actually fallen in the line of duty. And most recently, we've lost Dr. Baldomino Barbosa, who has given to this country 40 years or more in his service to the Belizeans through his medical profession. So we're touched right where it matters most, in the heart and spine, to have lost our colleagues. I want to quickly add that we've also lost another colleague, not specifically to COVID, but nevertheless a very debilitating, very an illness, very disheartening, Dr. Alba Mendez. So I just want to quickly mention her name, that it's a blow to us in the medical community. And as we were saying just before we went on camera, and I want to hopefully highlight it a lot during this conversation, is it's not just the doctors, of course, it's the whole medical team. And if I am forced to single out any particular member of the team, I would think the nurses would be the one who would deserve more credit more than anybody, because those are the ones who interact most with people who are sick with COVID. I want to give you my honest personal experience since all of it started. And what I want to say first is that when this started in March, I can remember well, it was perhaps when it was declared a pandemic. It was around the same weekend that Kobe Bryant died or lost his life in that tragic helicopter accident. And the following week, what I was forced to do personally is to go and check on my will. I did that. I went to my attorney. I asked them to see if we needed to do anything else to the will. We checked it to make sure that my dependents, my kids, my family would have been well taken care of if something had happened to me. And that was the first thing I did. At the time, there was a lot of unknowns. There's still some unknowns about COVID, but we knew that, we felt that something terrible was coming on to us. So from a very personal standpoint, that's the best thing I could have done to make sure that those persons I love would have been well taken care of if something had happened to me. Yeah. The other thing, of course, is to read, inform ourselves, keep up to date. It was and it's still amazing the amount of reading and learning we have to do on a day-to-day basis. We don't have time to read every article that comes out, but we are still connected around the world. We are connected. I, for example, connected to people out of Mexico, out of the US. We hear about the experiences. We see what's in the literature. We try to keep updates so that we can indeed be prepared to attend to people with COVID.
It's a very practical, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's very practical advice that you're giving, or I think using your story as an example to ensure that things are in order for your family when you're facing such a threat. And if we do go back to that time, very early in the pandemic, we know that internationally, the frontline workers were severely impacted from the start. And it was a lot of things. It was shortage of equipment being one of the most critical ones. We heard all the stories of people reusing masks and trying to sanitize them themselves. But I'd imagine that some of those things perhaps have been mitigated over time. How do you describe what the risks are today for physicians, nurses, all medical professionals who interact within hospital settings?
Yes, that's a good question, Marlene, and it's ironic if I tell you that attending to patients in the COVID units, either the ones that are referred to as moderate cases or the severe ones or the intubated ones, that is when you most protect yourself, ironically. You know you're going into the room, you put on your PPE, you you protect yourself very well. You make sure that you left your stethoscope outside. You make sure that you left your telephone outside. We take off our watches. So when we go into the units, that's when we're most protected. The problem arises is in the asymptomatic patients, people who you see in your office, people who you see in the emergency room, who come for different ailments. You can't say who has the COVID virus and who doesn't. So many times it can be very unassuming when you attend to these patients. I've had many close calls with patients in emergency rooms that would come for issues seemingly totally unrelated to COVID. And when you swab them, they're COVID positive. So it's a universal precaution that we have learned to do. It's almost second nature now. Mm-hmm. We have on our mask, the proper mask, wear it the proper way. Most of us now use a face shield all day long, pretty much. And if indeed anybody would show any signs of any respiratory ailment, then we would put on a little more extra protection. But our fear and my experience is people that I see in my office, people that I see in emergency room that are not known to be COVID, and that's when we get catch. And it's a pity my colleague didn't come on air, because they would tell you those who have also, because quite a number of us have been COVID positive, but have recovered, and they would tell you that they wouldn't be able to know for sure where they got contaminated or got infected from. It's just seeing people on a regular basis.
Yeah, but of course your risk for exposure increases because of the number of people you come in contact with. Is there any, I know there was talk and research is still ongoing on this new disease, but they were looking at things like viral loads and frontline workers and how much they're exposed to.
Right. That's exactly what I was saying. There's a lot of discussion that when the person is most contagious, it's during their early days of having themselves before they start the symptoms, actually. So if you start with your cold and the stuffiness and your sore throat today, perhaps the day before was when you were more contagious. So that makes it even a more threatening situation. So we do have to be very careful all the time. And like I said, I have been caught in some near call situations, and thankfully, I have not yet been affected. I think just this week, though, I'm going to do what we call antibodies to myself to see if I indeed have been exposed already without even knowing it. So that will happen this week, and I know that in Belize now we're going to start to do the antibodies so that people can know if they were exposed. And please let everybody understand, it's not to diagnose COVID.
Yeah.
The diagnosis of COVID is through the rapid test and through the PCR. But in terms of to see who has immunity, it's when you test the antibodies. And of course, if you know, if you're in upkeep with the discussions, we're talking about vaccines that will eventually come on board in a very, very near future.
And Doctor, you had mentioned earlier that you yourself have had some close calls with the virus. So I'm wondering if you could describe sort of what it's been like for you and other frontline workers and medical professionals in the hospital setting, having to deal with those things, having to deal with so many close calls. One, the amount of or the measures that you yourself will have to take personally, and I'm also wondering how often it is that you're being tested, because we know that a lot of people have had to be tested frequently, and that's not the most comfortable thing, getting the nose swabs and stuff. So can you describe what your personal experience has been like with those close calls that you've had?
Yes, I think I've been swabbed at least 8 times already for this pandemic. I don't find it uncomfortable. Again, I'm kind of used to it. I even joke along with my colleagues and tell them that it gives me pleasure to be swabbed. Because after a month of times, I've been swabbed already. The close calls, the biggest one that comes to mind right away is somebody showing up in emergency room at 2 in the morning, having severe difficulty breathing, and have to attend to that patient without knowing for sure their COVID status, but still assume that they have. Nowadays, if you sneeze, you're more at risk to be diagnosed with COVID. So that was perhaps one of the biggest problem. The biggest example I had attending to a person at 2 in the morning that had come from Corozal, having severe respiratory distress, and I had to intubate with all the precautions. Like I said, we sometimes we double mask. We have our face shields. We have something called a hood that we would use to intubate. Honestly, it didn't even give me time to get the hood. And we have a even fancier thing called a video laryngoscope, where we don't have to be directly in the face of that person. We could, it uses a video, but we didn't have time. It was a life and death thing, and we had to act. And that is when sometimes we do have to put our personal, our lives aside and try to help somebody. The other things is a little bit more or less dramatic. We would see people, and I would see persons in my office, and they would describe symptoms that are not too commonly associated with COVID, like diarrheas, like vomiting, and then you will get suspicious, but already you're in contact with them. Mind you, the practice of medicine has changed quite a bit in the office setting, in consultations. If you would see the layout of my office now, the chairs are pushed way back to the wall. We're trying to keep that 6 feet distance. The examination of a person has changed, unfortunately. I haven't reviewed somebody's throat or neck area or come that close in months now. And I would tell them that I would not do it because of the same COVID thing. If you come for consultation for a knee problem, for example, it would have been tradition or probably even obligatory for me to take a blood pressure, to listen to your heartbeat, to listen to your lungs, even if you come for a knee pain. That isn't happening so often again. So indeed, the practice of medicine has changed because of the COVID. So that's definitely how things are at this point. We also try to take care of ourselves, just like we preach. Take care of ourselves. We try to eat healthier. If the camera would catch, I have at least 6 bottles of vitamins right beside me. I try to keep up with my vitamin intake, the ones that are recommended overall. I do go through, perhaps over the past 3 months, I do use preventative dose of ivermectin that I've started over the past 3 months. Once the literature came out a little bit stronger, that is helpful for that. So I do things that would definitely protect myself. And one of the things I can say now, different from before, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Fear is not in me now when it comes to COVID. I am conscientious of dealing with patients, but I'm not scared. I'm not scared to go into the COVID unit. I'm not scared to intubate somebody. I'm not scared to take care of somebody who's intubated, and we've been doing that. So thankfully, at least that first 3 months that there was the fear of the unknown, I personally have overcome it. And I feel very comfortable now dealing with patients with COVID.
Yeah. I mean, we've learned a lot in the first year. And of course, in the second year, we're still trying to get it contained. I know earlier this year, the medical associates started treating COVID-19 patients. How has that been going, and what are you seeing that are noteworthy?
Yeah, definitely. Like we would like to have used the word fluid. It's always been a fluid situation.
Yeah.
We saw perhaps a couple months, 3 months ago, that the ban for taking care of taking care of COVID patients, of people requiring hospitalization, the moderate cases and the severe cases requiring ICU, the demand was too great for the country, and more bed availability, more help needed to have done. So we as a company decided to expand, to rearrange our hospital, so to speak. And rearrangement come with one car, so there was quite amount of money invested to rearrange 3 rooms that we were able to design to be able to take care of COVID patients.
And the patients that you're seeing, are they of a specific demographic? How severe? I know one of the concerns is that people don't go to the hospital until they're already in respiratory distress.
No, in the private setting, we're not getting those. We are getting people who are moderate, mostly. Moderate, mostly that require oxygenization and other dexamethasone, ivermectin, remdesivir, those kinds of treatment. There have been only a few that have deteriorated in spite of being hospitalized after a day or two, requiring intubation. And unfortunately, we have had a death after intubation. So in the private setting, it might be a little bit different, that we're getting patients earlier. And it fits the same demographics as we see in the rest of the country. Males getting more affected big time. So I wonder if this virus wasn't designed by a female, perhaps. But we're definitely seeing more males being affected. We're seeing the same age groups, and it doesn't discriminate against social status, and it does not discriminate against how much money you got. So that's why we should all, as Belizeans, realize that it will take us a team effort as Belizeans to stop this virus, because it does not discriminate. I've had the unfortunate experience. I have to attend to one of my colleagues had fallen ill and required a whole week or 8 days of hospitalization. And for a moment there, it was rather worrisome for that colleague, for her to get recovered, no? But thankfully we did. Yeah. So, but at some point I do want to highlight not only the physician, like I said at the beginning, the nurses. I look at the nurses, and when they're in those COVID rooms, in those PPEs, 24 hours or 12 hours that the shift require, it's a hell of a toll on them, no? They sweat, they have trouble getting to the bathroom, eating, simple things that one would take for granted. And of course, the risk is higher with them because they are more in continuous contact with the patient. For example, in the private setting, and I know even at Carl Regional to some point, we have a surveillance system where I have cameras in the room where I don't have to go into the room often. And we can be watching our patient, even from my office sitting down, through camera system, watching their numbers, watching how they're doing, watching how they're breathing, watching how their SATs looking like, watching how the ventilator is behaving. So we have the in-house telemedicine, and the other private facility also have it, and COVID unit in Carlucia have it to a large extent too. So the doctors themselves don't have to go into the room very often. I would see patients in the COVID areas maybe twice a day, unlike what I would see patients in a room for other ailments. But it's the nurses who have that one-on-one 24-hour contact that I am very, very...
It takes a team, right?
Definitely takes a team. The X-ray technician, the lab technician, they have to go in and draw blood. They have to take an X-ray is an important day-to-day tool that we use, and the X-ray technicians, they have to go in and deal.
Is it still mostly the lungs that you see affected?
Still mostly the lungs, but it's not just the lung tissue itself with the pneumonia, but the clotting, the blood clotting that's happening in the lung. we're seeing that unfortunately that still poses a big challenge in terms of getting that under control. So it's a dual thing, taking care of the pneumonia itself, which is the infection that affects the lung tissue, and taking care of the blood clotting that is affecting the blood vessels that is feeding the lung. So it's a dual thing, and I mean we have learned that we need to treat aggressively with blood thinners and not just the antibiotics and the antiviral. Because there's not just one single magic bullet, no? It's a concerted effort. We have to make sure that personal fluid levels are good, the urine production is good. We have to watch the liver function, because even the same medication that we give sometimes may affect your liver. So that is daily monitoring.
And how optimistic does the news of the vaccine or vaccines on the horizon make you when we think about moving forward?
Very optimistic. I'm happy that we are well on way to get it in country. One of the piece of information that we will have is that not just because the vaccine will land in April means that everything finished. No, we won't see the effect of the vaccination till months after. So we will still have to have our guard up, perhaps the rest of the year, before we can achieve that famous herd immunity through vaccinations. So it doesn't mean that after 1 day or 1 week after vaccination, that's the godsend and everything will just magically disappear. No, we'll have quite a bit of time still ahead of us, practicing the same measures that we're asked to do. No, the proper face, the mask wearing, washing hands, and social distancing.
And, on that point, I think one of the things that we have heard from you repeatedly, you've been very blunt in speaking to the public about adhering to all the protocols to prevent further spread. Currently, I mean, as of yesterday, I think we had 20-something new cases. Our positivity rate overall is still around 20%, but that's down from the 21, 22 we were seeing before. Do you get concerned about the fact that when things start looking good, that people start getting more complacent?
Yeah, that's a huge concern, and I'm part of the group that would look at the data and make recommendations.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't officially speak on behalf of them, but I know that they wouldn't have any problem for me to mention, because it's still public need to know that although we are seeing a slight decrease in numbers, we're not taking our foot off the gas pedal as yet. No. Yeah. Measures will still be in place, and we still, for example, we just had perhaps a super spreader event with the Christmas and New Year's, and you know that after that 2 weeks you have hospitalization, and the following 2 weeks you can see an increased number of deaths, because that's the trend that's happening worldwide. Yeah. So we still have a month at least to expect the worst, and we have to be prepared for the worst. So we can't relax our measures as yet. We can change our strategies a bit, which is a dynamic thing, and that's why we meet and discuss, and we change depending on the data we're seeing.
Yeah. And what about the new variant that was detected in the UK?
Yeah. We already started knowledge of this and surveillance. There's a connection to entity outside of in the US that we are testing the samples we have to see if we can pick up any of the new variant. And even that, it was discussed of what we're going to do with travel in terms of trying to avoid the new variant, or try to minimize the possibility of the new variant coming in into the country. So one of the things I think I'll be recommending to our team is that we need to get out there a little more to tell the public what's happening, because I was listening to the talk shows and over the weekend, and they're asking me questions, and they're not fully aware that a lot of things is being done, especially as it comes to, for example, the new strains, and what measures are being taken, what surveillance, what they call genome testing is done on the virus. I will tell you,
so we do have constant surveillance, just to understand clearly. We do have now surveillance happening to test the strain. We send it outside to be tested.
Right.
And we haven't.
Yes, we have. It started. We were not doing it as intensely as now, but we definitely, we can't do it in country. We can't test the strain of the virus in country. So a lot is being sent to BLR in the US to help us test the strains and see if we can pick up indeed if there's a new strain. We should assume that it's not if, it's going to be when we're going to get the new strains here in Belize.
That feels like February 2020 all over again. That's what we said about getting COVID in the country. The issue with this strain, though, and maybe you can help us understand more. I know the WHO calls it highly problematic because where the variant is known to be more infectious, it's not necessarily going to get you more sick. But more sick people does mean more severe cases as well.
Excellent point, Marlene. That's exactly what we're seeing. You know? It was kind of said at the beginning now that, it's only more transmissible, or it's only more infectious. Yeah. But definitely if we get more people getting sick, there will definitely be more deaths. So it's still something we have to pay attention to big time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we are hearing encouraging news, for example, that some of the vaccines are still very much effective against the new strain. So that's encouraging. So that is something definitely that will benefit all of us, the vaccines.
Mm-hmm. And just to return quickly to one of the points that we were discussing earlier, when you were mentioning talk of the healthcare workers such as nurses, going through their longer shifts and using their equipment and stuff for long. And I'm just wondering if you can describe sort of in a general context where we are in Belize with COVID, just about where we are with the resources, with our medical resources, because a few weeks ago when there was a large amount of hospitalizations and some of the conversations we were having, some of the doctors described the situation at the time is that we were almost at our limit. Yeah. We were at capacity, and that our resources were almost, fully, accounted for. So I'm wondering if you could describe what the situation is like today, both for the where the healthcare professionals are concerned, and also other sort of resources such as equipment and stuff like that.
Well, we don't even have to say other doctors. I think I was one of the main ones who was sounding the alarm that we had reached the bursting point, that we had already burst. No? Mm-hmm. Right now, as we're speaking, the view is a bit different. It's better. We don't have as much hospitalization. There's been a number of work done to increase capacity levels in the districts. They've been training to other doctors and teams to be able to take care of the more ill patients in the districts. Even at Carlucia, there's been quite a number of changes to absorb higher capacities. We don't hear as much. I'm sure that from time to time you might have the one or two, but we don't hear as much complaints about not having equipment, PPEs. We have ventilators and things that go along with ventilators a little bit better than before. So as we speak right now, in the second week in January, we are definitely in a better place. And even to absorb any other little surges that might come in Belize. Yeah. We have definitely, one of the things I have been satisfied with, the public-private collaboration is much stronger now. For example, I am on a chat group that receive information from the districts. I'm not employed with the ministry. I'm a collaborator.
You're on the medical expert team.
Yeah, there's too much teams, and if I would complain about anything, Marlene, there's too much chat groups and too much chat, because what you're referring to, we have another one, for example, that just look at the clinical part. So last night at 9 o'clock, I got information about 3 or 4 patients at the Western Regional. The doctors there asking for suggestions and recommendation and help, and I'm able to help with that. Yeah. And one is going to be transferred to Carlution this morning. We're going to start with them Bersever and the other 2. So there's a lot of collaboration amongst the public and private, which I am very happy about. Even myself, Hidalgo and Arriaga, who are the intensivists, we share even the private patients management between ourselves. We are very much involved with Dr. Barbosa's care, the 3 of us, even though we're not physically at that one site. They are involved with patients that I see here at Carlution, the ones that are troublesome. So we're making that collaborative effort for sure. And I think that will pay off big time.
I mean, that's very promising. I think it's important that professionals in general are able to consult with each other, especially when problem solving something in the unknown. Just out of curiosity, I know that we are limited in what kind of data we can collect, but are there any trends in Belize from your own experience or from talking with doctors as to what we know of who tends to get more severe cases? You noted men earlier, but is there anything else that we are seeing?
Obesity, diabetes, hypertension. Okay. And don't take this to task. Don't say this is etched in stone. But for some reason, we've noticed it ad hocly. For some reason, something is happening in the north in terms of the aggressiveness of the virus from up north. No, we've noticed it over the 2 handful of patients we've had, that we noticed that persons from the north are definitely more. Somehow the virus behavior is a little bit more aggressive. We don't know why. We're looking into that, but that is the only uniqueness of Belize. Other than that, we're following just like what we see in other countries. No, males, the age group, the comorbidities that are more affected.
Any word on the blood type? I know that was one of the things people were looking at one point.
Yeah, no word on it. That whole thing with blood typing, that's not specific to COVID. There's theories that blood types are associated with different illnesses, but that definitely hasn't had any evidence to support that. There are some reports, anecdotal, I would say, and I wasn't surprised when that came out that it was going to be suggested that some blood types are more linked to COVID, but that hasn't had any hard and fast evidence. So we don't
think
use
because
that.
You have a particular blood type, you're safe.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't use that. We don't test somebody and say, oh, well, you're O positive, you more than likely will be intubated. No, that doesn't have any strain of evidence to support that. What we look at is the age, the comorbidities, the obesity, and that the same things we've talked about all the time.
Now, what about treatment for people who have tested positive? We know a lot of people are relying on natural remedies. There, fever grass tea, a whole bunch of stuff that people take if either as preventative or if they know they have tested positive. What's your advice there?
My advice there is that you can indeed take your home remedies, the vervain, or is it the way you pronounce it, the vervain or the fever grass. You can take it, but that does not substitute for medication, no? Yeah. So you can take both of them, and indeed these natural things do have antioxidants which help fight diseases. So I don't stop or I don't discourage people from taking their natural remedies. Myself, I think for a long months I was taking. Some people actually came to me with gallons of things. I said, Doc, we want you to be well. We want you to take care of this, and this one, the best one that exists in the world, the turmeric and the garlic and honey, things that really taste bad sometimes. But I used to take it, not, of course, forgetting that I have to also take my vitamins and protect myself well. Yeah. So I don't discourage people from taking the natural remedies.
And
The
so if
only one
someone tests
whenever-
positive,
Yes.
and they are, if I test positive today and I have mild symptoms, you know, maybe just a sore throat and a headache, what type of medication should I be on? Not everyone goes to see a doctor, and a lot of people treat at home. They may take, you know, the whatever, the natural remedies or nothing at all.
Right. Well, it's unfortunate that everybody I will encourage first and foremost get that checkup with a healthcare provider if you've tested positive and have mild symptoms, because this disease is a monster. It can turn on you from one day to the next.
Yeah.
But if you absolutely refuse to go see one doctor or a nurse or the hospital, then there are a few things you would definitely make common sense suggestion. No? Be properly hydrated, rest. You can get your vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, your zinc, and aspirin, Tylenol for fever. And what we've agreed to recommend is that you take ivermectin. People with mild symptoms even. There was a lot of questions and believe me, it didn't come out the way left ears or right ears just to recommend ivermectin like that. No, we looked at the data, we looked at the evidence. I, for one, given the amount of medical training I've had, I would have sworn to you that 10 years ago, I would have not even considered evidence that is not done through what are called randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard for evidence in medicine. But a lot of these drugs, the repurposed drugs as we call it, have shown some effectiveness alongside the fact that they are not harmful and they're accessible. So it's not just that we measure the effectiveness, but we also look at it's not harming somebody. Yeah. So you can recommend it. Curiously, I was on the way here at the office. I have lived enough to have gone through cholera. Anybody remember cholera?
Yeah, I remember cholera.
Maybe you're too young.
No, I remember it.
Cholera and then Ebola, no?
Yeah.
Were the two big things. And we had also issues with dengue, for example, no?
Yeah.
We had some severe issues with dengue some years ago. So we've had our medical issues here in Belize. But this one, honestly, guys, this one a monster. This one knock you down, wreck you up big time.
Yeah. And I do want to talk about those long-term effects that we've had people here explain. I mean, Dr. Mantanero is a great example, but there's several others that we've talked about long-term effects. But before we get to that, let's just address one of the issues here with now the recommendation of using medication like ivermectin. This is a new disease, and so information is kind of released as it goes along. The studies start, you get some preliminary data, then you hear, oh, it won't work. Hydroxychloroquine is a great example. When you have your patients keeping up with the data as it goes along, I'm sure it builds a level of skepticism as to whether or not they can trust. You know, you said, Doc, first you said not to take it, now you're telling me take it. What's going on here? How do you explain this to people?
With the truth, Marlene, with the truth. I mean, I would approach it like that. I tell them, listen, maybe 6 months ago we were not recommending. The data has changed, and now I'm recommending. Definitely, like for example, I can tell you some other drugs as simple as Tylenol. 15 years ago, there was a different amount of Tylenol you could have taken a 24-hour period. That has changed. So everything changes as evidence builds. And but for sure, things like hydroxychloroquine has not shown any difference as opposed to when it was in March, April, or May then. But the ivermectin has shown with some data that it's helpful. And like I said, we look at all the data that exists, examine it and say, yeah, this is something we can recommend. Yeah. And I do appreciate the skepticism that can come out of these things because we said one thing. But I can quote you that even Dr. Fauci, who is Jesus Christ on earth when it comes to these infectious diseases. His rhetoric, his talking has changed over time, and we just have to work along with it. The remdesivir, for example, came out. Some said it was working, then some said it wasn't working, and now it's working back. So we're recommending the use of that. Yeah. But it's understandable. We shouldn't get upset with each other when we have these conversations. It's very understandable that it looks like we are shifting the goalposts from time to time. But indeed, as the evidence come out, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And speaking of skepticism of certain treatments, have you also dealt with any skepticism about the virus in general? Because as we know, if we look at news from other parts of the world in particular, and even sometimes locally, people say that the entire COVID thing is a hoax, and people refuse to wear masks and something like that. And I'm wondering if you've had any experience with or first-hand experience with people like that, maybe through the hospital or just in conversation.
No, that's curious, Gavin, as you asked that. I have never met any beliefs that would tell me that the virus is a hoax and it's a make-believe and it's some kind of conspiracy theory. I think 99.9% of people realize that this is a virus, it's here, it's dangerous, and it can kill you. I have never met anybody who believes. I have read one or two things somewhere, been told that one or two Belizean might still say that this is not true, but 99% do appreciate that the virus is here. Another bigger issue that we have been faced with, and hopefully it's getting less and less, is this issue with intubation and ventilation. No? Yeah. There are a lot of skeptics that say, well, once you get intubated or ventilating, that's it. Better your contact.
That's true. We did hear that and see that.
Better your contact Mr. Lam or Mr. Corey at the same time, because that's it. But that's not true. We, especially in the ICU areas, have learned a lot of different things when it comes to ventilation. We used to manage people on ventilators for different reasons, but this has now taught us new strategies that we need to do. And we know see somebody in any breathing problems and just intubate them so, no? Yeah. We go through a process, we increase the oxygen levels, we change the way how the oxygen is delivered to them. Sometimes we use the nose thing, we call a nasal cannula. If that not help much, we use a mask with an e-bag, that's called a rebreather. And now, thankfully, we have a thing called a high-flow oxygen therapy, which is a machine with one thing, but it shoot much more oxygen into you, more than what you could get oxygen from a tank or from the wall. No? So those are called high flow. So that's definitely a gap, a tool that we can use before we intubate. And the criteria for intubation have changed a lot, over this past year. We used to intubate people with different criteria, like for example, if your oxygen level at 88, 85, we look for, hey, prepare for intubation. We have become more permissive. So we'll say that saturations in the 80s, we still try work with them to avoid intubation. And when you do intubate, the strategies you use are far different than before, and it's working better. Yeah. It's working better. So I want to tell people in Belize that ventilation, intubation thing has changed a lot, and we are getting better results as we go along. And I saw on your program yesterday, Ms. Vega, each hospital have their own good results patients. And
you've had people successfully coming off the ventilator as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So, and I think it's medical language that we're not accustomed to either. Intubation is being placed on a ventilator, and what you are saying is that it's when things have deteriorated to a point where you can no longer trust that the body will be able to continue functioning for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
No.
yeah, and let's go back to the issue I discussed earlier, just as we start to close off, the long-term effects of COVID. Now that we've had people in country who have faced this disease at least 10, 11 months ago, we're now able to know that some people are living with challenges long after. What's your experience? What have you seen, or what is the discussion that's taking place around this?
A lot of experience with that, Marlene. I'm seeing a lot of patients post-COVID, we call them, or the long haulers. One of the main issue with them is this fatigue that they have. No? They don't have the energy. They still get a little bit short of breath. That is in a good part understandable, because the virus actually damages your lung, and it can be damaged permanently, can scar it, so your lung capacity isn't the same as before. So that shortness of breath is there, that fatigue is there. I've heard persons with the sharpness in their mind was good as before.
COVID brain,
Yeah, the fog, they call it. We have had patients with kidney disease, with liver disease that have not come back to normal functioning. We've had what are called neuropathies, where they get tingling and pain in their hands and feet. So we are seeing indeed a lot of patients who have had the long-term effect from COVID. And that will pose one particular challenge later this year, because going back to work, for example, and the extended sick leaves that they may have, it will generate more debate with Social Security and their employers and that kind of thing.
And those long-term effects, they're not just from hospitalized or severe cases, right?
Exactly. And it's surprising, people with mild symptoms who did not require hospitalization still complain of these long-term effects.
All right. Well, Doc, we appreciate the perspective that you shared with us this morning. I think we covered quite a lot, but it is important that we get a view from the front line as to what's happening. And thank you once again.
Yes, I just want to end by again saying kudos to the nurses. They are the real frontline people. They are the ones who take care of the patient more than us, the doctors. And please believe, it's not the doctors or the front lines that will stop this virus. So it's all of us. Wear your mask properly, wash your hands, and just have patience and obey the suggestions, the recommendations, and the restrictions put in place. And together we are come out of all of this. One of the things I never like here, and what this thing is, the politicians still politicize this thing, man. When anybody not just behave themselves and grow up and stop talk nonsense and blame one another and that kind of thing, it helps, it not help at all. Okay? So I have to put that in, because you know how my mouth goes on. The politicians have to behave themselves.
All right, and you stay safe, Dr. Cuellar.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. That's it for our COVID-19 update for today.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere. Satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
If we We are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us. Then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something. The Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
And we are back. And if you're joining us right now, we are just getting our second conversation started for this morning. And we are going to be speaking all about the Labor Department's Electronic Temporary Employment Permit. And here to discuss that with us, we have Alda Reyes, who is the chairman of the Temporary Employment Permit Committee, as well as Claire Lamb, who is a senior labor officer with the Labor Department. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us about this morning. Perhaps we can just start perhaps with Aida to tell us all about what the temporary employment permit is. Just tell us all about it.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Marlene and your team, we thank you for inviting us, the Labor Department, to share to the public our new electronic temporary employment permit system. This morning, Ms. Lam and I will be explaining the new electronic temporary employment system, and is well known as work permit. Ms. Lam will give the brief introduction on the temporary employment permit from M. The floor is yours, Ms. Lam.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, guys. Temporary employment permits are issued to foreign workers to work within Belize for a specific period of time, which could be for a fixed term, probably for a project, seasonal workers, like we have the agricultural workers. And a Belizean employer can apply for a foreign worker, or a foreign employer can apply for a foreign worker also. And also a self-employed person, a foreigner, could also apply for a work permit as a self-employed individual. When these individuals apply for this temporary employment permit, they would need to supply us with various documents, requirements, during the application process. For example, they would supply us with, if it's a self-employed individual, they would supply us with a business plan to show us how this business will operate in Belize, if it will provide employment for Belizeans, the type of produce or items that will be produced or services that will be offered by that business. You would also need to produce the qualification. Let's say it's an employer bringing in a director or CEO to manage his company. They would need to provide us with copies of their qualifications. Those would have to be verified. And then the business also have to provide us with tax information. And going back to a self-employed, if you're going to operate a business in Belize, you will need to provide us with your bank statement for at least 6 months, but a local bank statement here, and certificate of registration, and the list goes on with the other documentations that they must provide for this process.
Let's backtrack a bit, though. Who is eligible to apply for the temporary employment permit?
Any foreign worker.
Any foreigner. There are no exceptions to the list, no?
No.
Okay. Now, from your experience, who seems to access them the most?
The statistics that we have with the permits that were issued, its majority is from the agricultural sectors, the farm workers, farm hands.
Yeah. And they come from what area?
Central America. Central American countries.
And given that the employment is temporary, can you also can you describe what that means basically? Because you mentioned a little bit earlier, and even in the context of agricultural workers, you were talking about seasonal workers or people who may be coming for a fixed period of time. Can you tell us what exactly, or what types of labor this is exactly aimed at? Is this different from somebody who wants to perhaps come and live and permanently settle in Belize?
Yes, because the permit is only for a period of time. The maximum time is 1 year that the permit is valid for. However, individuals can apply for a renewal, But when we look at the agricultural sector, they come for the season for probably for harvesting or what we call reaping of the fruits, and actually the period for planting.
Now, you mentioned, I think, a part of your screening process, and I'm sure you imagine that people who are watching right now are saying, well, if we have so much unemployment, why are we allowing other workers to come in? What's the screening to ensure that the people who are coming in to access temporary employment are actually necessary?
Okay. One of our requirements is that that job has to be advertised in the local newspaper for approximately 3 weeks. And you will need to bring in the clippings and also your interview information so that we could go through that document. Also, we have a public employment unit within the department. So we would also refer you to that unit before this process is completed.
Okay.
Because we have job seekers that registered with us for various employment.
Local job seekers?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I didn't know you had a placement agency.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So basically, if I have a farm of whatever, and I want to bring in workers to work, before I can get access, before they can get access to this permit, I would have had to advertise locally for Belizean people to apply for the job.
Correct.
And I have to prove to you that I did put that announcement out.
Yes. And as you can see, I think recently I saw on Facebook where a couple of these farms were placing their vacancies also on Facebook for Belizeans.
Okay. Okay. And what's the cost of the permit?
At the Labor Department, we only deal with 2 fees, which is the $20 for the postage stamp, the stamp duty, and the $25 for the administration fee. The actual permit, you pay for that at the Immigration Department, and they have a list of costs for the various profession. Each profession is different. The cost is different, sorry, for each profession.
Okay.
But that is with the Immigration Department, not Labor Department.
Okay.
Because if I could step back a little, Labor Department does the interview for the temporary employment permit. We have a committee that reviews the application, and that committee is the one that decides whether the application is approved or not approved. Once the application is approved, that is communicated to Immigration Department, because under the Immigration Act, Section 16, it is the Immigration Department that would issue the work permit based on a voucher from the Minister of Labor. So we would communicate that information to Immigration Department, and Immigration is also a member on our committee. And it's Immigration Department who will then produce that permit that is placed in the individual's passport, and also a hard copy that they can take around with them, and they also charge a fee for that permit.
Okay.
And what do the numbers actually look like in terms of how many people you see applying for these types of permits each year, especially because we know that, you know, even in the agricultural sector in particular, but otherwise we know that, you know, persons living and working illegally has been an issue. So how many people are actually taking advantage and applying for these types of permits?
That total figure I don't have with me, but what I have with me at the moment is the ones that were approved. Like last year, we had about 3,000 plus that were approved. But majority of that, I think about 67% of that, if I'm not wrong, was from the agricultural sector.
Yeah.
What other types of, you know, just what other sectors are we seeing?
We have professionals, which will be our directors, owners, CEOs. We have our technical workers, which is from the medical field. We have the doctors, nurses, IT professionals, and then we have our general workers.
All right. Now, this process to make it an online application, is this born out of the pandemic reality or something that was in process a while before?
It was in process before, but the pandemic made it a reality for us.
Yeah. Now, how do you ensure that you're still doing all the necessary checks into the applications if it's going to be online?
Okay. When the documentations, after the person creates his or her account and submits an application, they also have to submit all the documentations that were required before electronically, and then a labor officer vet those applications, do their query before setting an interview with the employer, as an interview is also conducted online with the employer. So through the labor officer vetting and collecting the additional data and speaking with the employer and the worker during the interview, that is how we would maintain still the process that we had to check the validity of these applications.
And when you just recently officially launched the online application, what's, usually there's some growing pains when you move things online. How's it been going?
The application process online will start on the 14th. So we still have a couple more days. The website was launched, but workers and employers will start using it on the 14th of this month.
So, Claire, tell us a bit about what this will do in terms of making the process not just safe, but also streamlining the work of the department.
Okay. With this process, it will benefit us and also the employee. If I could start first with the applicant, with this process, every step of the way, they will be able to get notification from the department via email about the status of their application. And for the department itself, we can see the submission of the application, who submitted the application, who vetted the application, the interview notes, and then also we are able to go through the committee's information for the review of that document, that application, and then the production of the approval or not approval letters. However, in addition, it also provides us with useful labor market information, because data is something that is not readily available when it comes to the migrant population. So now with this system, that statistics will be available. It will also tell us the sectors that employment is available. And we could also use that information at the schools, where training programs could be offered to individuals to prepare themselves for these openings.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful. Ida, talk to us about the work of the committee and how you differentiate yourself. Ida?
Hello, yes.
Yes.
The committee is comprised of 4 representatives from the government officials, and from the Ministry of Education, Human Development, Immigration, and the chair lady from the Labor Department. The process is that we will receive the application, we will review and approve, and we have to see that all the requirements are met so that we could approve the work permits. And that is the process. It will take like 2 weeks to do all the necessary process, and the employers will receive a letter from us. But now with this new system, that will be, everything will be automatic. Like they will email the letters, they will be getting everything, they will upload their documents. So it will be more easier for the Labor Department and the applicants to apply online.
And Ada, perhaps you can tell us a bit more about what the experience was like in transitioning to the online platform. And perhaps you can also describe a bit of what your experience was like sort of working through the pandemic, and any sort of challenges that the Labor Department or the committee faced throughout the months of 2020, especially while the borders were closed.
Yes, with this pandemic, of course, everybody was scared, right? Because it's deadly. What we do with this, we saw that it is we need to implement something in place so that we could do this in application. And like every year, we process approximately about 5,500. But with this pandemic, it reduced because we were trying to see that we will not be receiving face-to-face in applications or interviews. We will not be doing again. So what we did, we started to think about this new system, and sincerely that we will be working on that. That it will be more easier for us, and we will be also be the lengthy process will not be again. With this new system, the process of the work plan will improve and no more delays.
It'll be
so
faster.
that will be the new system.
And just a question, in the committee's review, what's the approval rate? How often do you actually deny permits?
It will all depends on if they have all the requirements. Because if you don't have the requirements in for example, like Ms. Lam mentioned, that we need advertisement from the employers that they have that in post available, and if there is Belizeans available, we will look into that. First, we give priority to Belizeans workers. So if there is no Belizeans available, then we will approve the work permits. And basically, it will be minor numbers that we will be saying not approved.
All right, and so what's your advice to the public about how to adjust to the new online format?
I will ask the public to have patience because, we are trying to upgrade our system, and I know that sometimes we'll say, oh, this thing don't work, but yes, it will work. This new TP system is easy to navigate and easy to understand. So I will tell the public that if they have any question, concern, contact our labor department. We are here to serve the public, and we are here available to give information. So to me, it will work, and I believe, and our ministry also, we have that hope that we will this new TP system will work.
Okay, and Claire, tell us the website. And it doesn't actually, you can't actually apply online until the 14th, right?
Yes, the 14th will be, all the TP's application will be conducted online.
What's the estimated wait time for when somebody fills out the information and submits?
It will take like less than 20 minutes. Whenever you log in, you upload all your information. And you will, and the good thing of this system is that employers could schedule their interviews at their convenient time. So it's not like before that you have to wait until they will vet your work permit, or then you will get 4 days or anything. But this system, employers will be able to enter to do their own schedule their own interview.
Any other advice to people that either one of you want to share?
And Marlene, with this system also, we have our counter partners that we work together with the Immigration Department and Social Security. So this system will automatically generate reports to share with these partners, Immigration and Social Security. So this system will work. Believe me that it will work. It will be more easy for apply and get a result. And the system automatically will say, once you submit all your application, all the requirements, the system will send you a notification saying we have received your work permit application, and you'll be getting your letter of approval or denied.
And it's also linked, I'd imagine, to you spoke of it being linked to the Social Security system, but also to the immigration system?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies, thank you for telling us about this new process, and the transition is prepared. I mean, you guys are rolling out on the 14th. People can go online and apply for the temporary employment permit or a work permit. That's what people call it. And thank you for telling us all about it. All right, seems we've lost them there. So Claire, Ida, thank you for joining us, and do stay safe. All the best.
And with that, of course, we are going to be taking another break. And when we come back, we are going to be speaking all about scholarship and scholarship opportunities. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
The virus that causes COVID-19 may be spreading in our community. People might have the disease even if they have no symptoms at all, even when they look healthy. Because the virus needs us to spread from one person to another, we can stop it from infecting others if we practice physical distancing. That means stay at least 6 feet away from other persons. Don't shake hands or exchange hugs. Do not gather in groups. Stay home if government officials tell you to do so. Use social media or telephone to communicate. Avoid crowded and enclosed spaces. Work from home if you can. Stay home if you are sick, except to get medical care. Avoid close contact with sick people. Don't visit anyone who's sick in quarantine or in isolation. Give them a call instead. Help keep Belize safe.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
You never know when it might happen. You can't afford to take chances with your safety. You can't afford to take chances with your life. Because you never know when it might happen. Always be safe, because you never know.
So class, let's review your homework. What are some of the things that we can do to make sure everyone has a clean and reliable supply of water?
Sir, we should turn off the faucets when using soap to bathe, to wash our hands, and maybe even our cars. This will cut our water bills and save us a lot of water.
My dad says we should keep the area around the water pipes close to our houses clean.
Yes, sir. We should encourage our parents to pay their water bills so the entire village will always have clean water.
Right, class. We should not forget to attend water board meetings and add our 2 cents. Make sure everyone has reliable, clean water.
My mom says that 3 young people can volunteer to paint the public water pipe.
So, how do we make sure we will always have reliable, clean water?
Join the Clean Water Revolution.
Get involved today and do your part to keep your water supply clean and reliable.
The Department of Rural Development is working on achieving Goal 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is to ensure access to water and sanitation for all.
And we are back. And if you're joining us right now, we are just getting our final conversation for this morning started. And we are speaking about United World College's Belize scholarships that are available. Speaking to us this morning, we have Connie Lou, who is studying in the USA, and we also have Amber Marin, who is studying in Norway. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, guys.
All right, thanks so much for joining us to speak about this topic. And we can jump right into it by, let's just get both of your experiences with applying and getting these scholarships. So let's start with you, Connie. What was your experience like? First of all, how did you hear about it, and what made you apply, and what was that application process like?
So, excuse me if I get a little bit of the details wrong, but sure. This was in 2010, so just like a decade ago. Yeah. But I remember I was Did I freeze?
Yes,
Can you still hear me?
You did.
Okay,
yeah.
So I was at Catherine.
So you did it back in 2010?
Yeah, in 2010. And I heard it over the PA system. They announced that there was a scholarship opportunity, and they quickly and briefly mentioned that it was something that a lot of people around the world was doing. Mm-hmm. So I was curious, and I went over to see the presentation. I would definitely say it was one of the most nerve-wracking times of my life because it was the first time I decided to step out of my box and my comfort zone and applied for something so big. And not many people have heard of it. Yeah. And I also didn't tell much people that I was applying for it either. So I had only a small group of people, but my neighbors were very supportive. I know Miss Mappy Smith on Race Course Street, she was so supportive of me. And, you know, I went through a lot of essays, and I went through the interview, and there was a bunch of activities. So it was definitely a long process, but it was a rewarding one. I would never exchange that experience.
Yeah. Now, you were in third form at that time?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's one of the things that people need to understand about the scholarship, that it is to complete your high school education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would compare it to more like, so in the United States, there's something called advanced placement classes. Mm-hmm. So they're technically kind of like college level courses. Yeah. So at the UWC, I think they're more like a step up of high school, but comparable to college courses in the US.
Yeah. And for you, Amber, tell us about your process and why you chose to apply.
We have Amber?
For me, yeah. I had a few friends that had also gone to UWC, and I was really interested in going somewhere, and all the UWC values just like kind of matched up with me. So I just went ahead and I applied, and it was a lot of fun going through all the processes because I really felt like I was doing something on my own, something big for the first time. And yeah, there was different parts of the application process, which is like writing an essay, meeting up for these group activities and the interview. And I really liked it. I really wanted this scholarship. I wanted to go far away and experience the world. And then I just applied and I got it. And I've really just continued experiencing more and more of the world and people through it, even though I'm done now.
Yeah.
I've met so many other people because of it, and been to places I never thought I could have if it wasn't for going to UWC.
And how would you describe sort of the academic experience that you went through whilst you were studying?
So I had graduated from school, SCA, before I went to UWC. And academics were very rigorous. Nothing impossible, but it definitely pushed me. And we were constantly working, but it was a real working environment. There's like so many people who are actually passionate about school and the subjects you're taking that you're just drawn to be involved and super into your academics, whilst also doing so many other stuff alongside. It was just a very like hardcore, like into the moment kind of experience where we're just constantly doing stuff, but it was so much fun and so much experiences coming in that period of my life.
So let me ask both of you. This scholarship, I think it allows for you to move very often to a very far country to be able to do the course. Now you were probably, what, 15, 16 at the time. I want to know what your parents' reaction were.
Yeah, I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously told my parents that I was applying.
Yeah.
They weren't sure what was going to happen, but I remember receiving it and being full of joy. I had tears of joy.
Yeah.
And I had some neighbors. They were like, "Connie's too young. She shouldn't do that. She should stay home. She should not go across the world or somewhere." I went to Costa Rica.
Okay.
And but my mom and dad, they were supportive about it. They're like, okay, this is what you want to do, then go for it.
Yeah, yeah. And what courses did you do?
So how it's set up is that you're going to take 3 higher level courses and 3 standard level courses. If you take more than that, you are extremist. So I took a higher arts, higher level arts, because I've always wanted to do something in art. I also took higher level history. I took standard level math, standard level Spanish, because you need to take a course in language that's other than your first native language.
Yeah.
So I also had standard level English. And then I had one more course. It's not coming to my head. It's a while ago.
How did it help
you? Another course.
How did it help you when you applied for colleges after?
So, like Amber said, it's a very rigorous program in general. So the last course was higher level chemistry. And it really taught us how to, one, plan our time around everything we wanted to do. So not only were we taking academics seriously, but we also had, for example, community meetings every week. We had residential meetings every week. We had extracurricular activities that were built into the system. So you always had to take something active like a sport. And then you always took something creative as well. And then we also did service trips. So it was building someone that was all round, not just in academics, but also in different activities that you have a passion for and things that you wanted to see a change for. And there was always discussions about how to make a social impact and a social change in the world.
Yeah.
So I think that moving forward, even until today, I am using these experiences in my applications because they apply so well to everything that's happening today and all the different college experiences and life experiences that I'm going through.
And I think that's a great way to segue into talking just a little bit about the opportunities that are available today, because of course there are 3 UWC scholarships being offered right now. So perhaps you can talk a little bit about those.
Yes, so the scholarships, I know 2 of them available right now are to UWC China and UWC Hong Kong. I know people that have been there and they've only had great things to say. The campuses are very different all around the world. So, and also there are the dynamics around the different UWCs. But I mean, overall, all the different values are deeply incorporated in all the UWCs.
Yeah.
I don't know if Connie has more to say.
You know, it's very similar. I've had friends, I've talked to people that went to the different UWC as well. And like she said, the core values are pretty intertwined into the program. The only thing you might see difference is the culture difference. You know, in China, you'll see a different culture than what you would see in Costa Rica or in Mahindra, India. So that would be like the only difference, I would say.
Amber, did you choose Norway when you applied?
I sort of did. I kind of pushed for it when I was applying. I was mentioning how I want to go really far away. So they sent me to Norway. And I've also really been into the outdoors, and Norway is like the outdoorsy UWC.
Yeah.
Mountains and skiing and a lot of that stuff. So I got to experience all of that going to Norway.
Okay. And I mean, you said you graduated from school before you applied.
Yeah, I did.
And so what did you do? You've completed your program. What are you doing now?
Right now I'm studying my bachelor's, also up here in Norway, in northern Norway. And that's what I'm doing right now. And yeah, I'll see what comes in the future.
Now, what would you say to other students who are considering applying about the difference it will make in enrolling in it or applying for a UWC scholarship?
So I would say that if you're considering it, just do it, because it's completely worth it. It is, I mean, it is a big thing to move away from home, but moving, no matter which university you're going to, I think they really manage to create a homey environment where you really feel safe and welcome. Like, there's always someone you can ask questions about if you need anything. There's so much support all around. It's practically like having a big family of 200 people, like right there with you and taking care of you. So despite I knew it was going to be tough, it really wasn't as tough as I thought it would be. So I would just encourage anyone thinking of going out into the world and exploring and learning to just go for it. And the more people that apply and support get taking these scholarships, the more can come to Belize, and it can be used, and yeah, so many more young Belizeans can get this opportunity.
I also think, you know, that the more of us that go out there, the more other people and other countries learn about Belize, because a lot of people don't know about the countries, about Belize, and they would like to learn more. And you get an amazing experience. You learn so much about other cultures, but you get to share your culture as well. And on top of that, upon graduating, you have so much more opportunities. The opportunities doesn't stop at UWC. It continues. Like during my second year, they send all kinds of counselors from different schools from all over the world. And that's how I ended up in the United States. And I believe that's how Amber ended up in Norway to study, right? Yeah. So you get opportunities from all over the world. There will be counselors coming to get UWC students from Hong Kong, from Europe, from the US. And it was through them that I also, you know, studied and got my bachelor's degree. And the UWC Davis scholarship paid $20,000 towards my scholarship for 4 years. And if it wasn't for them, I'm not sure if I would have been able to pay for that myself.
Well, a scholarship that offers the potential for more scholarship is even more appealing. But you also meet young people who had the same goal as you did, you know, trying something, getting involved in an international community. How much have those networks, and especially for you, Connie, 10 years later, I think, how many people do you still stay in contact with? What's that like?
Honestly, it's like having a huge network of family all over the world. It's like family. I still connect with people everywhere I go. I was in Iowa for my bachelor's degree, and I met UWC students at the college I went to, and we connected instantly with our experience. And then I moved to California, to SoCal in Los Angeles. And during the time I was there were Facebook groups on there like, oh, we're going to have a UWC meetup. Would you like to join? And it was just, UWC alumni. So you get connecting experience all the time. I moved to the Bay Area, San Francisco area. And there were more Facebook groups, and they're just like, hey, we're in the Bay Area and we would like to meet up. Who wants to connect? Who wants to socialize? And there's always that opportunity. And there's also like a worldwide Facebook group that I know of that I'm in, and people are on there all the time asking for a job and resume advice. They're also on there saying, hey, I'm going to Pakistan or whatever country next week, and I don't have a place to stay yet. Is there anyone that would let me crash at their place? Or is there anyone that would like to show me around? It's very common to see those questions in the group, and people are just so open and so welcoming to you.
All right. So how do people apply? They just go online?
Yeah, so you check out the UWC Belize website, and the application process is quite easy from there. You apply, you sign up, and then they will take you through all the processes of selection to get the scholarship.
All right, and the age requirement?
I believe it was 15, about 15 going up.
Okay. And this year the scholarships are going to be to China and Hong Kong.
Yes. I think it was 2 for China and 1 for Hong Kong.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you for sharing your experience and encouraging other students to participate as well. We appreciate it, and of course, stay safe.
Thank you too. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. For those that are thinking about it, just do it. It's a wonderful experience, and you won't regret it.
It is definitely worth it.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. When we come back, we'll have our wrap-up. So stay tuned.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Abigail.
Yes, Gran?
Abigail, I can't breathe well.
Granny, we need to go to the hospital to get you checked out.
No! I'm fine.
Yes, Gran, we need to go now to get you treated. Now, before it's too late.
No.
Grandma, we need to go for all of us.
No.
Stop. If you are having flu-like symptoms, please call us immediately for medical guidance. If you have chronic conditions such as diabetes and you're experiencing symptoms such as shortness of breath or chest pain, please also seek medical attention immediately. We've lost a lot of people this year. We don't want to lose you too. Please seek help if necessary. Call us at 0800-664-2273. Continue to wear your mask at all times. Keep physical distance when in public and stay at home unless absolutely necessary. This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
And we're back, and we want to say thank you for tuning in today.
Yeah, we had a lot of great conversations this morning, and of course we want to say thank you to all our guests. First of all, to Dr. Cuellar for coming out and sharing his perspective from the front line, of course, dealing with COVID patients, working with people in the hospitals, and sharing with us a bit of his perspective on where we are today and all of the other work that we still have to do. So, as always, we want to say thank you to Dr. Cuellar. He's one of our popular guests, so his input is always appreciated.
Yeah. We also want to thank the Labor Department for coming on and explaining to us how the new electronic process is going to work for workers permit. It's called the temporary employment permit, and you can, starting the 14th, go online to apply for your workers permit. There are a number of criteria that have to be met first, so please keep that in mind, but it should streamline the process and make it more efficient and, of course, more expedient.
Yep. And finally, we want to say thank you to Amber and Connie, who came to discuss all about United World United World Colleges Scholarship Program. I'm tripping over my words. Because, of course, UWC is offering 3 scholarships this year, 2 to China and 1 to Hong Kong. And the deadline for applications is, of course, this Friday. And if you are interested, go online and apply. They are accepting applications right now. And it is, of course, if you are watching, a great opportunity to study and perhaps build some international links. And it could be a great opportunity that you might want to take advantage of. So we want to say thanks once again to them for coming in and discussing all about that great opportunity.
That's right. And that's all the time we have for today. So remember, if you have any comments, questions that you want to share with us, just send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And on Instagram at OIE
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, please.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.